All right. Welcome back on in, guys. The holiday season is over. I took a break there through the holiday season, and now I'm back. The game we are going to be making some videos of today, I haven't seen many people make Kerbal Space Program console videos. So I play on the PlayStation 5. No mods on the console side of things. And we're gonna start a new thing. So from scratch, I always go career mode. Name it. Name it space. Career mode. I'm gonna come in here and change the flag. I always use the NASA flag. We want to check the settings. So allowing revert flights is where if you make mistakes, you can revert it back to launch or revert it back to the vehicle assembly that you want to have on. That is key. Um, Allow quick loading you want to have on. Missing crews respawn. That's up to you. I turn that off. Um, I don't want to have anybody missing. So we're gonna go. We're gonna go get them. Auto rehire. No. Include stock vehicles. Yes. So if you include stock vehicles, that's where some things, um, kind of like rovers, if you want to try to do planes, instead of rockets, then if you have the stock vehicles, it will help kind of give you a visual aid, where you can either use the stock vehicle or use that as a aid to build your own. So like the rovers for me is the reason I include that. So I've yet out of all the plays I've done on here been able to successfully make a rover. Enable comm network. So this stuff is really up to you. I always though start with about 250,000 because that allows for you to build some rockets and get some stuff done pretty early on. I don't start with any science, don't start with any reputation. I keep the rewards and all the penalties and everything the same. Now here we come into advanced settings. So this stuff you could do, makes it more realistic if you allow G forces, but too many G forces and you kill your Kerbals. And I don't do that. So I keep that stuff off. Upgrade. I do like plasma blackout. Plasma blackout when you're re-entering through the atmosphere or on another planet on an atmosphere. Um, During the entry, you lose comm, which is realistic. Ground station. All right. That's our settings. And here we go. So here we are in the beginning of the career mode. So first thing and foremost, you want to come here. So this is show you. Okay, so they have the administration building. This is where you can come in and set up kind of different tasks. So if you want to it costs 5% reputation gain, so the effect 5% reputation gain, but yields 1,015.084 funds for each 1 unit of reputation. So where you can get money, so as you gain reputation, you also earn more money. But it takes a percentage of your reputation gain. So like this one takes 5% of the science that you gain from contracts, but you yield $2,101.608 funds for each 1 unit of science. Takes 5% science gains from field work, so like when you're doing field science, but yields money on that as well. So I don't like doing that. We'll get the money through the contracts, and I'll keep my science and stuff like that. There is one that I thought I typically do. I'm not going to do any of those. Okay, so then you have your astronaut complex. This is where you can hire other Kerbal astronauts. You start with 4, but you'll also be able to get astronauts through recovery missions. So like if they're stranded in space and you got to go try to save them. So that's ways you can also get. Now, early on, you don't really need many astronauts because you're really only going to be operating 1 mission at a time. Now, once you start setting up a system where you've got a steady launch pretty consistently, then that's when you want to probably have more astronauts, especially pilots that are good pilots where they've orbited the planet, either orbited or landed on, one of the moons. That'll be a way where you can get them up. But the best way to get them up is have them orbit and land back down on the planet. That would get to 1-star reputation. And then even if you're landing them on the moons, you still won't gain enough to the level 2. But if you have them just exit the Kerbal space, like essentially go in between planets, so interplanetary space, and then come back and re-enter, that's when you can get them to level 2. So I typically do that Therefore, I can have level 2 pilots, level 2 engineers, level 2 scientists pretty early on. Once I have that uh, research, which is here, uh, found out where we can essentially be able to have the power to get up there. So we need science in order for us to be able to get more stuff. So cost 5 science to get that one, 5 science to get that one. Now we'll be able to get that science pretty easily. And I will show you that here in 1 second. So this is where you come to get your contract. So I believe it is the mission control. So we get a contract here. Gather science data, we want that, and then launch our first vessel, we want that. We can only have 2 active contracts right now unless we upgrade the building, which only costs 75,000. So we'll go ahead, we'll upgrade that building. Therefore, I can pick up these other 2 contracts as well. So on the console, when you're playing here, in order for you to get the cursor to pull up, you would click left stick in, and that's when you just click on the building and enter it. Now here is the vehicle assembly building. This is where we will build our rockets. To exit, you can just hit the start button, and then open craft, and that's all the stock crafts here that I had. And then you got your planes over here in the. So this is the vehicle assembly building where we are. And then I will show you the other building. Now, I don't really do flying planes. I haven't really figured that part out. I can get it up. I just can't land it safely. So, flying is not something I have really figured out. But this is where you would come in to build your plane. So this is, all this stuff. Some of these, are rovers that we would get here and then need to save it here and then attach it in the big rocket that you build in the vehicle. So, but that, again, I haven't really figured that part out yet. That is going to be probably future videos on trying to learn that stuff. I was actually just trying to learn that in my own that I have going on. And that one, we've got travel around. So tourists travel around the Kerbal space, tourism around the moon, tourism in orbit around the sun, and then we were working on Minmus, which is the second moon, the furthest moon out here in the Kerbal planetary system. But yeah, well, I'll show all that stuff here coming up, the planets and things like that. But let's go ahead. Let's hop into the vehicle assembly building. Actually, let's go and upgrade our launch pad. All right, so we got launch pad upgraded. We've got the administration building upgraded. Mission control there. Now, over here on the left-hand side, you're going to see all these different things. Now, you'll unlock more of this stuff as we continue through the science. But first, we need to go ahead and get us a paw. And we want a parachute. We want to be able to land safely. Now, to do here, and let me back up. So, left stick in to get the cursor out. You come in, click what item you want, you place it. Now, you would click square to open up this menu here. Now, altitude, this is the altitude which the parachute itself will actually open up. So, I typically do mine at about 1500. Therefore, you have a slower descent. The higher up you release it, the slower your descent will be for small vehicles. Now, for larger vehicles, you need to release it up at about 5,000. That's the highest it'll go. Because that's where, if it's a heavy vehicle, you need that time to be able to slow down, or else you're going to destroy the bottom half of your vehicle. And that's where typically you would have a decoupler to decouple the bottom half if you've already spent all of your fuel. Or you would have landers if you can get slow enough and you have enough parachutes to be able to land the rocket back on Kerbal here. So we got that. That's our parachute. Now science. Go ahead and let's do a double. Now science, this is goo. We're gonna be able to collect science at the pad as well as when we land, so probably in the water, most likely. We don't have any fuel tanks, so we're just gonna have one little guy. Alright, now we got some wings for aerodynamics. Alright, that is all we've got for this first launch. Yep. Oh, we'll come in here. We'll have good old Jebediah be our test pilot. And then you come up here, and this is where you can name your vehicle. So I always just do test until it's a actual vehicle accomplishing a task, meaning, moon orbiter, moon lander, which I would say MUN. It's MUN. It's the name of the moon in this game, MUN. So I would call it MUN lander. So as I build more rockets, you'll kind of see what I'm talking about. But this will be just test 1. And we'll go ahead and click start, and then we'll save the craft. Now, click start again. And we're gonna go launch. Now there's 3 different launch sites on Kerbal. You have this Kerbal Space Program launch site, and then there's a desert launch site, and then there's like a mountain launch site. So here on the launch pad, we can go ahead and before we do anything, we're going to observe our site. We're going to go ahead and we can click keep. At the same time, we're going to do a crew report. We're going to gather that science. Then we're going to have good old Jeb come out of the ship. And he's going to do an EVA report on the launch pad. Now he re-enters. As we get more science, we'll be able to do more things like gather surface sample, temperature, pressure, things along those ways. Now, down here is going to be your panel. So most of the time you're going to be typically in maneuver mode, where it shows you, your apoapsis, your periapsis. So apoapsis is your height. Your periapsis is your low point. So high point, low point. 70,000 kilometers is out into space. So if you have 70 and 70, you're orbiting. Or, 450 and 70, you're orbiting. So that's where when you want to come back, you want to be below 70. When you want to re-enter the atmosphere, that's when you want to be, I would say if you're coming back from out by the moon or beyond, you want to be at about 58. 56 to 58. Because you're going to be coming in really fast. And so if you're higher up in the atmosphere, you won't catch fire. And that's you don't want to catch fire. You want to catch fire when you're landing, not when you're just trying to lower your apoapsis down, so you're not, on a 5-day orbit. You'd be, 4 hours, 3 hours, 1 hour, 2 hours on each time you make a pass. So now we get that set up, so we can see how high we're going to go. And then you want to click circle to do SAS, which is your stability assist. I'll kind of help keep the rocket stable. Then up on the D-pad, throttles up. Down on the D-pad, throttles down. Holding L1 and going up, you can kind of micro throttle. And then vice versa. L1 down, lowers it. And then left and right on the joystick. I'm not going to do it right now because we'll tip over. But left and right on the joystick is kind of that's how you rotate your ship. Right analog is your camera. That's how you move. And then to launch the vehicle, you want to throttle up, and then you'll hit X to initiate staging. Oh, speaking of staging, so you don't want to do this, you don't want to have this. This is a problem. I should have caught this in the vehicle assembly. So if they're on the same stage when I hit X, the parachute's going to deploy and my rockets are going to deploy at the same time. So we need to have them on separate stages. So rockets, then parachute. So your 0 stage, that's your last stage. everything down. So when you get a big rocket, you're gonna have a laundry list of stages down here. So then, now we're gonna hit X. Now, when we hit X, we're gonna want to, because we don't have the ability to land on the ground. If we do, we're gonna explode. We don't have, um, you know, legs. So when we launch, we want to go towards the ocean over there. So when I launch up and I hit X, I'm gonna tip the ship towards the 90 on the ball here, the big blue nav ball. So you have 90, and then it's like 270 on the other side. And then where you're pointed at, where your yellow target there, that's where your the front of your ship is pointed. Or the I am where you have your select point as well. So like when you're trying to dock, then that might change because you'll have your docking port as your point um, of contact instead of the tip of the ship. But I haven't really been able to figure that part out on the console side of things. It is a little bit more challenging playing Kerbal on the console versus the PC because PC you have, I guess, a little bit more fine tuning you can do, um, and they have a whole slew of mods too. But I don't really like playing with mods, so we are based, Kerbal Space Program PlayStation 5 with the DLC is what we are, and here we go. We are about to launch our first ship in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, liftoff. Now I'm hitting right trigger to aim the ship towards the water. Now we're going up. Up, 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 up. Looks like we're gonna hit about 12,000, maybe, yeah, 12,000. Get that landscape. Beautiful. Now coming down, we want to vice versa. We want to tip it back the other way. Go ahead, we'll just launch that. And then it'll catch at that 1,500 meter. So we're coming in. Not good there, Jeb. Not good, buddy. Tip over. You need to tip over. Come on, tip it. And then he's gonna get some bad G-forces here. Oh boy. Ugh. Oh, we're coming down safely there, Mr. Jeb. So we'll go ahead and, oh, we can't do an EVA. We don't have that unlocked yet. So we have to unlock the ability to do the EVA in flight. He should be able to when we get back in the water. Be able to do an EVA report. And then we should be able to, oh, we can also, this we can do. We can run another crew report. Oh, no, we can't. So what you would eventually do, so while you're able to EVA, you would EVA, have the person on EVA, so in this instance, Jeb, collect all of the science from inside the space or inside your crew quarters or hatch or however you want to call it, your pod. Then run the crew report, and once the crew report's done, then you'd be able to re-enter with all the science. We have splashdown. Now we'll go ahead. We'll gather the goo science from the water. Jeb, do another EVA. On the water. And board. And then you come up here at the top. Or, I mean, you could click start to and recover. I just come up here to the top. Cover vest. That is our first launch. So we collected some science. We've collected some money from that contract. Have our first launch. So now we'll be able to come in here. And upgrade. So we're going to go ahead and we'll get some basic rocketry. We'll go ahead and we'll get that because that's going to give us the temperature gauge. We'll come down here as well because that'll give us the pressure gauge as well. So now we'll be able to gather for the next launch the temperature of the pad and the pressure of the pad. Can perform. Yes, this is the one we want. Now we want to come in here for the astronaut complex and then upgrade that because that's going to allow us to be able to run those EVA reports mid-flight with Jeb, where he could, while it's coming down, or if we get high enough up there, like out in space, where he could do it while on the ship. Now, you don't want to have them hop out while you're going up in the atmosphere. They will fly off or burn up. And you don't want to have them when you're coming back down in the atmosphere from deep space. Now, if you're just coming down kind of like on these first few launches, then you could have them hop out because you're not going terribly fast. But once you get big rockets, you want to be careful. You're going to kill your astronaut. Okay, now come back in here. Test flight 1 was a success. Okay, I think we can get up. I think we will be able to get up. Not in orbit, but up. Okay, so now we're gonna add some science on to her. Now to zoom in and out, that's his left button, and then up and down on the right stick. I'm zooming in, be able to place the science. Pressure. Doesn't cover the hatch. Now this is your hatch. You don't want to have the hatch covered. If you have the hatch covered, they can't get out. So we got 2 pressure, 2 science, 2 more goo. Might as well throw some foam on there. And on the NASA logo. All right, so if we want to go and get into space, we want to be able to come back safely. Big tank. No, that's white. So these are our fuel tanks that we just put on. Now this is going to be the stage that if I want to try to get into orbit, we might be able to. Okay, so no, this won't be that stage. This will be the main. Oh, how much Delta V do we have? 13. That wants to get up here. Oh. So this is where you can come to this tool right here. Is where you come to be able to see how much thrust to weight, which is this right here, how much delta V, how much fuel you have to be able to get to a certain place. So now we are currently on Kerbal at sea level, so at 0 altitude. And so this is kind of where you would come in, and then you can mess with this stuff. I don't really mess with any of this stuff. I keep it all on. And then when you want to know what you're going to be in space, that's vacuum. So certain stages you'll want to come in here and check, be able to be like, okay, I've got this much to get out of the atmosphere, and then second stage or third stage, whatever part of it has X amount while in space, and then you want to switch it around to like the mun, for example, if you're gonna have your ship go be around the mun, you know how much you need for there, and then return back. Now on the PC, they have like a whole spreadsheet that you can see. Ours kind of have to do the math mentally, to be honest. All right, let's get it back to what we were doing. Oh yeah, don't have the ability to attach solid fuel booster unless we do it in the awkward way where you force it into the ship. But what we could do no, because I think we're going to tip over on the... No, I think this is going to be our test 2. Yeah, because the higher up you go, you got to think about you're gonna tip up. You're gonna tip over, and we might even be tipping over at this height that I'm at. So we might have to revert back to the vehicle symbol. But we'll see. This time around, I'll have good old Valentina be the test pilot of test 2. Save the craft. Am I forgetting anything? This one probably want to have it a little higher. Actually, before we do anything, let's check contracts. Good thing I did. So we have... So these are certain contracts where it has you take it at certain areas. Now, I don't like those contracts because I can't guarantee I'm going to be in that specific area. Pick that one up. We just picked up some contracts. Test the swivel. Nope, that's our engine. Okay. Mark 16 parachute. That's our parachute. Altitude 3,000 meters to 9,000, so we'll bump it up a little higher. 4,000. And speed, we'll be going that speed for sure. Might be going a little faster, I don't know. Save, make sure Valentina is the pilot. She is. And well, let's launch again. Now, before we launch, we want to do the temperature and the pressure on the pad. So you want to come over here, zoom in, log your temperature, and log your pressure. Never hurts to check as well if we have any leftover goo, and we do. We'll go ahead and we'll pick up that leftover goo. Might as well do another report. Anything there? Nope. All right. EVA, don't tip over. Anything here? Nope. All right. So now, same thing as before. We're going to come down here. We're going to get our height. And then click off. Hit circle. Turn our SAS on. Throttle up. And Valentina, you are cleared for launch. We wish you the best. And 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, launch. Now we want to come up. Now we have more fuel, so we want to come up a little bit and then start working our tip. Well, we might be able to get there. Maybe. Our Apo says we should hit space. On a crew report here in the upper atmosphere. We'll go ahead and we'll observe the goo here as well in the upper atmosphere. We'll gather in the upper atmosphere, or the pressure. And so next flight, now that we know, we should be able to gather the science data in space because we're gonna get into space. Now we are in space. Now go ahead, Valentina, do an EVA out here in space. Board. Now on re-entry, we want to dip ourselves back. Retrograde. Alright, so we know this stage has enough to get us out here. Now we're just coming back down. So we gathered some science in the upper atmosphere. We gathered some science, an EVA report out in space. So the next flight, we'll have to gather the science in space, and then the pressure and temperature in the water. Now what we're going to do is go ahead and couple that. And we want to wait for these to be green. Oh boy, we might be having to revert. We're coming in hot. Oh boy. Speed. Bam. Test completed. Success. Great. Drop this. Just slow down. And no G-forces that time. No red G-force. Good. So we accomplished 3 more contracts right there. And then if you want to speed up time, so because we're going to be taking a little while, go down, and 3 come up here, and now you don't want to get up into 3 and 4s when you only got a 4 because then you're physics warping. And that on the console, you don't want to do that if you can help it. I will definitely be pretty buggy. But if you stay within normal warp speeds, you're fine. Now you want to turn it off when you land, or I typically try to turn it off right before we land. Therefore, I don't forget, because this does speed up time as well. So like you're fast forwarding time. So in the event where if you have multiple uh, craft and missions going on, that's when you definitely don't want to warp um, too much, because that will potentially make you miss your maneuver windows, and then in space, you don't want to miss your maneuver window, because if you miss your maneuver window in space, then you got to redo the maneuver, and you could be end up spending more fuel um, to counter your mistake. And then if you're building your ship to try to be as fuel efficient as possible, then you might have just SOL'd your mission and might have to just cancel it and head back home altogether. Me, I typically try to have more fuel um, than necessary. Therefore, that ship that I'm building might be able to be multi-purpose. So if I have enough fuel left over when I create my first tourist orbit ship, where I can take, tourists up and orbit Kerbin here, then depending on that fuel, I might try to bump it out and see if we have that capability to go do a flyby of the moon. And if we do a flyby of the moon and I have excess fuel, then we might try to orbit the moon. Um, Now, if we orbit the moon and I come back and still have plenty of fuel, then that's when we think, okay, that might be able to make it out to Minmus. So that's why I try to build the ship to be multi-purpose. Therefore, I'm not having to restart from square one on the building of a ship every single time. You might just have to add a few things or remove a few things once you get better fuel or better engines, things like that. But wrapping up here on our second launch and our first video. Again, this is a Kerbal Space Program Console Edition. I have all the DLC, um, and we are on the PlayStation 5 version, not the PlayStation 4 version. So don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. It was a pleasure making another video here. And I might make a second video here shortly, kind of showing the progression of this. If not, the next video I make will be the continuation of this career. We are 200 meters away from splashdown. Set 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Splashdown. We can't gather any science here in the water. I don't have the stuff. Now we got 80 science. More monies. All right. Again, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. I hope everybody has a wonderful day.